Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome everyone. In today's video, we're going to learn together using a poem titled I'll Tell You How the Sun Rose by Emily Dickinson. So this video was planned by my group members, and before we start our lessons today, let me introduce my group first. Starting with me, my name is Rifqah Tsabitah Putri with student registration number 23050860006.
Hi, my name is Nur Azlika Ayundra and my student number is 23050860009.
Hi, my name is Dian Prasista Widyadan and my student number is 23050861010.
And in today's lesson, we're going to explore together the poem's meaning, poetic devices, and focus on figurative language.
So, our main objective today is to identify the metaphor, personification, and imagery from the poem I'll Tell You How the Sun Rose by Emily Dickinson. Before we start our lessons, please join my classroom code below so that it's easier for you to submit your assignment later in the video.
Alright, now let's start with some background of the poet. Emily Dickinson was one of America's most famous poets, known for her unique style that often focused on nature, personal emotions, and the mysteries of life. She lived in the 19th century during the Romantic era, a time when poetry celebrated the beauty and the power of nature. During this period, poets saw nature not just as setting but as something alive and magical. They used detailed and colorful language to help readers experience its wonders. This poem, I'll Tell You How the Sun Rose, reflects many ideas of the Romantic era by highlighting the beauty, mystery, and emotional connection found in everyday natural moments. Dickinson combined these romantic ideas with her personal reflections, making her poetry timeless and relatable.
Now, I will recite the poem I'll Tell You How the Sun Rose by Emily Dickinson. Listen up! I'll tell you how the sun rose. A ribbon at a time. The steeple swam in amethyst. The news like squirrels ran. The hills untied their bonnets. The bubblings began. Then I said softly to myself, that must have been the sun. But how he sat, I know not. There seemed a purple style which little yellow boys and girls were climbing all the while. Till, when they reached the other side, a dominie in grey put gently up the evening bars and led the flock away.
Alright, now that we have read the poem, let's go through each line to understand its meaning. Lines 1, 2. I'll tell you how the sun rose a ribbon at a time. Dickinson describes the sunrise as if it unfolds like a ribbon, little by little. This shows how the light spreads gradually, making the scene feel peaceful and magical. Lines 3 and 4. The steeple swam in amethyst. The news like squirrels run. In the context of this poem, amethyst refers to a soft and mysterious purple color like the gemstone amethyst. The steeples, or the tops of church buildings, look purple in the morning light, as if they are swimming in the sea of color. The sunlight is compared to news spreading quickly, just like squirrels running around in the morning. Lines 5 and 6. The hills untied their bonnets. The bubblings began. The hills are imagined as people taking off their hats or bonnets in respect for the sunrise. Meanwhile, the birds, bobolinks, began singing, adding a joyful sound to the morning. Lines 7 and 8. Then I said softly to myself, that must have been the sun. The speaker, amazed by the beauty of the scene, quietly acknowledges that it is the sun creating such a stunning moment. This line reflects the wonder of witnessing nature. Lines 9 and 10. But how he said, I know not. There seemed a purple style. The sunset is described as mysterious and hard to explain. The purple style is a small trinket that marks the boundary between day and night, showing how the evening feels magical. Lines 11, 12. That little yellow boys and girls were climbing all the while. The yellow boys and girls represent rays of sunlight or children playing under the fading evening light. This image gives a sense of warmth and innocence as the day comes to end. Lines 13, 14. Till when they reached the other side, a dominant gray. The other side refers to nighttime. A dominant gray, or a pastor or guide dressed in gray, symbolize twilight, gently leading the day into the night. Lines 15 and 60. Put gently up the evening bars and let the flock away. The twilight acts like a shepherd, putting up bars to close the day and guiding the flock, or the light and activity of the day, into the calm of night.
We have talked about the meaning of the poem. Now, let's look at how the poem is put together and how its sound make it interesting. Let's divide this into 3 parts. The first part is about physical elements, next is the sound elements, and the last one is linguistic elements. We will start with the physical elements. The first one is lines and stanzas. So the poem has 16 lines divided into 4 stanzas. Each stanza has 4 lines, making it easy to follow. Nah, dengan membagi puisi menjadi beberapa bagian akan membantu kita memahami setiap ide dengan jelas. Next is verse. This poem is written in free verse, which means it doesn't follow a fixed rhythm or rhyme. Hal ini memberikan puisi ini aliran yang alami seperti waktu yang berlalu dengan bebas tanpa batasan. Now, let's move on to the sound elements. There are 6 different parts here. The first one is rhyme, next is rhythm, then alliteration, assonance, repetition, and the last one is meter. Let's talk about rhyme first. In Emily Dickinson's poem, I'll tell you how the sun rose. We observe different types of rhyme schemes in each stanza. Here is a breakdown. Stanza 1. Stanza 1 uses an open rhyme scheme where the first line is A, the second line is B, the third line is C, and the fourth line is D. You can see here, each line ends with a different sound. This makes it feel free and open, with no repeating pattern. Jadi, dengan tidak adanya rima ini memberikan kesan yang mengalir dan alami pada puisi I'll Tell You How the Sun Rose. Next is stanza 2. Stanza 2 started with the first line, which is C rhyme, the second line is D, third line is E, and fourth line is D rhyme. So here, only the second and last lines rhyme. The rhyming lines bring a sense of connection, while the other lines feel different, creating variety but also unity. Now is stanza 3. Stanza 3 creates an alternating rhyme scheme with the first line is F, the second line is G, the third line is C, and the fourth line is G. And here, you can see that the second and fourth lines rhyme, but the first and third do not. This alternating rhyme creates a rhythmic pattern that makes the poem feel more structured like a beat.
Perulangan bunyi di baris kedua dan keempat menciptakan kesan saling terkait, sementara baris lainnya memiliki nuansa berbeda memberikan variasi namun tetap menjaga kesatuan dalam bait tersebut. The last stanza, which is stanza 4, combines alternate rhymes which is HI, where the first line is H and the second line is I, with a repeated rhyme which is CI, where the third line is C and end with the fourth line is I, bringing the stanza to a cohesive close. The repeated rhyme helps to tie everything together and makes the ending feel complete. Jadi pada bait ini, rima diulang yang menandakan puisi sudah berada di ujung penutupan yang menyatukan keseluruhan puisi. Now, let's talk about rhythm. The rhythm is irregular, meaning the beats in each line are different. This makes the poem feel more natural like a normal conversation without a strict pattern. Jadi, karena ritme pada puisi ini bebas, maka puisi akan lebih mudah kita rasakan dan nikmati isinya. Next is alliteration. Alliteration repeats the same sound at the start of words, like in steeple swarm. This gives the poem a smooth, flowing sound. Jadi, bunyi yang diulang-ulang menciptakan kesan mengalir nyaris seperti musik yang menambah suasana keseluruhan puisi. Now is assonance. Assonance repeats vowel sounds like the A sound in swam and amethyst. This makes the poem sound more musical and smooth. Jadi, assonance menciptakan ritme yang mengalir secara alami dan menambah unsur musikalitas puisi sehingga lebih enak didengar. Move on to the repetition. The words the sun are repeated in the second and last stanzas. This helps remind us that the sun is important and gives the poem a rhythm. Jadi, repetition atau pengulangan ini juga menciptakan pola ritmis, membuat puisi terasa lebih terstruktur dan juga seimbang. The last sound elements is meter. The meter is irregular, meaning the syllables in each line change. This makes the poem feel free and helps reflect the changing world around us. Ritme yang tidak beraturan ini juga membantu pembaca merasakan puisi dengan cara yang tidak kaku dan lebih spontan, yang mencerminkan bahwa kehidupan itu sendiri tidak selalu mengikuti pola yang tetap. Now, move on to the linguistic elements. Let's divide this into 6 parts. There are theme, audience, speaker, tone and mood, syntax, and our main focus for today's lesson, which is figurative language. Alright, the first one is theme. The theme of the poem is the beauty and mystery of nature. Here, the rising sun is described as something gentle and beautiful like a ribbon unfurling. Jadi, hal ini menunjukkan kekaguman pembicara akan keindahan alam. Next is line 9. This line suggests a sense of mystery as the speaker admits they don't understand how the sun sets. Jadi, line ini menyoroti gagasan bahwa keindahan alam menyimpan rahasia yang tidak selalu dapat dijelaskan. Next is the audience. The poem speaks to readers who appreciate nature's beauty and like to reflect on deeper meanings. The tone with the phrases like "I'll tell you how the sun rose" invites the reader into the speaker's personal observations and thoughts about the nature. Jadi, hal ini menciptakan hubungan yang mendalam antara pembaca dan juga pembicara. Now is the speaker. The speaker in the poem is someone who observes and admires the sunrise and sunset. In line 7 and 8, the speaker is reflecting and speaking quietly to themselves, realizing with wonder that what they saw was the sunrise. Hal ini menunjukkan bahwa pembicara memiliki apresiasi yang mendalam terhadap alam dan senang merenungkannya. Next is tone and mood. The tone of the poem is calm and thoughtful, creating a peaceful mood. The peaceful tone is enhanced by gentle description like the steeple swarm in amethyst in line 3, which evokes a quiet, serene image of the words at sunrise. The tone is also shown in lines like a dominie in gray put gently up the evening bars in lines 14 and 15, describing the transition from day to night in a peaceful and calming way. Now, let's talk about syntax. The syntax of the poem is reflective, which helps create an intimate and thoughtful tone. For example, in lines like "Then I said softly to myself," the structure of the sentence makes it feel like the speaker is thinking quietly or speaking to themselves.
Hal ini menambah kesan pribadi dan introspektif pada puisi, membuat pembaca merasa seakan-akan berbagi momen pribadi dengan pembicara. Now, let's dive into figurative language, which is our main focus. We will learn about 3 figurative language here. The first one is metaphor, next is personification, and the last one is imagery. Okay, the first one is metaphor. A metaphor is a way of comparing two things directly without using the words like or as. It suggests that one thing is another thing, helping us understanding one thing in terms of another. Dengan mengatakan sesuatu adalah sesuatu yang lain, metafora ini mengungkapkan makna yang lebih dalam tentang bagaimana mereka serupa. For example, time is a thief. This means that time takes away precious moments from us, just like a thief steals things from people. Di sini, waktu dipandang sebagai sesuatu yang datang dan pergi dengan cepat dan merenggut beberapa saat dari kehidupan kita tanpa kita sadari, seperti halnya pencuri yang mengambil sesuatu tanpa diketahui. The second example is heart of stone. This means that someone is emotionally cold or unfeeling. The metaphor compares the person's heart to stone, something that doesn't have warmth or the ability to show care. Jadi, metafora ini menunjukkan bahwa orang tersebut tidak menunjukkan cinta atau simpati. Next is personification. Personification is when we give human qualities to something that isn't human. This helps make descriptions more vivid and interesting, adding life to things that would otherwise seem dull. Jadi, personifikasi adalah cara untuk membuat benda mati atau non-manusia tampak seperti hidup dengan emosi, tindakan, atau karakteristik yang hanya dimiliki oleh manusia. For example, the wind whispered. This makes the wind seem like it is talking to us softly, as if it is a person speaking in a quiet voice. Jadi, angin yang berbisik di sini tuh menambahkan kesan tenang dan misterius dalam puisi, seolah-olah alam itu memiliki rahasia yang ingin disampaikan. The next example is the stars dance. This gives the stars a playful, lively quality, as if they are moving around the sky with joy. Personifikasi ini menunjukkan pemandangan yang ajaib dan menyenangkan, di mana bintang-bintang tak hanya berkilauan, tetapi juga penuh dengan gerakan dan energi, seakan-akan sedang menari dalam kebahagiaan. The last one is imagery. Imagery is the use of descriptive language to create vivid pictures in our minds. When writers use imagery, they use words that appeal to our senses, making us see, hear, smell, taste, or feel what they are describing. Imagery membantu pembaca membayangkan adegan dengan lebih jelas, membuat puisi atau cerita menjadi lebih hidup. For example, a sea of clouds. This phrase creates an image of many clouds that cover the sky, much like a vast, endless ocean. It helps us imagine the clouds stretching out over the sky, moving together like waves in the sea. Jadi, perbandingan ini membuat awan tampak lebih besar, lebih kuat, dan lebih indah. The next example is golden sunlight spilled over the mountains. This phrase paints a picture of sunlight spreading over the mountains, almost like liquid gold flowing down the slopes. The word spilled gives the idea that the sunlight is flowing freely and abundantly, covering the mountains in a warm and bright glow. Imagery ini membantu kita membayangkan keindahan pagi atau sore hari yang damai, di mana cahaya menyinari dunia di sekeliling kita. These literary devices make the poem or story more interesting by helping readers connect with the ideas and emotions through sensory details and creative comparisons.
Okay, now for your assignment, I want you to pause the video and take 5 minutes to find all the examples of metaphor, personification, and imagery in the poem I'll Tell You How the Sun Rose.
Okay, have you finished? Let's go through the answer together now. Don't forget to check your answers and see if you got them right. Let's start with metaphors. Here are some examples from the poem. First, a ribbon at a time. This compares the sunrise to a ribbon being slowly unwrapped. It helps us imagine how the sunlight gradually spreads across the sky, just like pulling a ribbon apart, bit by bit. And the second, the steeple swam in amethyst.
The church tower are compared to something swimming in purple light. This creates an image of the tower surrounded by a soft, peaceful purple glow in the early morning. The third, the hills inside their bonnets. The hills are compared to someone taking off a bonnet or hat. This shows the hills revealing their beauty as the sun rises. And the next one, there seems a purple stile. A stile is like a small gate or step. The poet compares the end of the day to a mystical gate, giving the feeling that the sun is setting and we're stepping into a new world. And the last one, a dominie in gray or put gently up to evening bars. This compares the sunset to a person carefully closing a gate, symbolizing the end of the day. Now, let's move to personification. Here are examples from the poem. First, the steeple swam. They are described as swimming, making them seem like they are moving through the soft morning light. And the second, the hills untied their bonnets. The hills are described as if they are untying bonnets, which give the idea that the hills are walking up and showing their beauty in the sunrise. And the last one, the bobblings began. Bobblings, a type of bird, are described as if they are starting their day like people. This makes the scenes feel lively and full of activity. Finally, let's discuss imagery. The first one, a ribbon at a time. This phrase paints a picture of the sunrise slowly unfolding. Like a ribbon being unwaved, you can almost feel the soft, steady spread of light across the sky. The second one, the steeple swam in amethyst. This line creates an image of purple morning light surrounding the church tower, making them glow softly and giving a sense of peace and magic. And the third one, purple stile. This describes the sunset as a purple gate, giving the sense that we're stepping into a special magical moment. And the last one, little yellow boys and girls. This could be described children playing in the warm sunlight, creating an image of joy and comfort.
So everyone, in today's lesson, we have explored Emily Dickinson's poem I'll Tell You How the Sun Rose and focus on its use of figurative language, particularly metaphor, personification, and imagery. These poetic devices bring depth to the poem, allowing us to experience the sunrise and sunset as a magical, mysterious event. Through vivid comparisons and personifications, Dickinson helps us see the world in a more imaginative way, making nature feel alive and full of meaning. Well, I encourage you to continue exploring how figurative language enhances our understanding and appreciation of poetry. By paying attention to metaphors, personifications, and imagery, you can uncover deeper layers of meaning in any poem or piece of writing. This tool will not only make your reading experience more enjoyable, but also improve your own writing by helping you express complex ideas more creatively. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this lesson has inspired you to look at the world around you with a more poetic eye. Remember, the power of figurative language can transform simple observations into beautiful, thought-provoking images. Until next time, keep exploring the beauty of language and poetry. Goodbye!